Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems. Thanks for supporting the community. Remember why you started.
We believe in this opportunity to work in Web3, and people coming in will be a massive shift.
There's a lot of opportunities that are not, they're lost, and their people's skills and their what they're really capable of doing is not able to be shined through right now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning into another Zero Authority Live. Today we have a really special guest. You guys know him as Marky Mark on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. And you guys know him, follow him. He's been making a lot of updates in the community lately. Marky Mark is from Leather and Leather BTC. They used to be the Hero Wallet, and they have rebranded to Leather. Really cool name, and I hope you guys take Setsu's advice and do something with the name the Suede Society. I saw that as a tweet coming up, so that would be cool. Today we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to just give an overview of what Leather Wallet is, how do you tap into the Bitcoin economy. We're going to talk about BNS names, how can you get one if you're completely new and you want to get one, what the future of BNS is, and we're going to talk about BNS as Ordinals on layer 1. I think that's a really fascinating recent development. And then if there's time at the end, just the future of where BNS is going and how can people tap into BTC names. So before we get into all those things, Marky Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing well. Thanks so much for making time to come on and be a part of this and just share some good updates. We love what you guys are doing over at Leather and allowing people to tap into stacks and the Bitcoin economy. For people that don't know who you are, can you give us just a brief intro and the time you spent at Leather working on some things?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my name is Mark Hendrickson, Marky Mark on Twitter, X. Originally from San Francisco, the Bay Area. I've been in startups my whole adult life. First out in San Francisco, and now I live in Barcelona, where I work remotely with the Leather team. I got into crypto about 5 years ago. I joined Blockstacks, which is now called Hero. It's the company that launched the Stacks blockchain originally. And I think this was 4 years ago. Started working on the product, which is now called Leather. Used to be called Hero Wallet, like you mentioned. It was the original wallet for the Stacks blockchain. And as the Stacks blockchain has evolved into more of an L2 for Bitcoin, we've really followed that path as well. These days, we are a Bitcoin first wallet for Web3. We really believe in building Web3 applications on top of Bitcoin. And we view that from a sort of layered approach. So we view Bitcoin itself as a layer 1 platform and things like Stacks as layer 2 platforms. And as a wallet provider, we want to support Web3 across those 2 layers and possibly more layers, like the subnets and other sorts of extensions to those 2 base layers. So the ideal is really users can come to us, connect Leather to applications they want to use, and regardless of whether assets live on an L1, L2, L3, we help them get whatever job they want to get done with those applications, move their assets between layers as needed, and help them make the most of things.
Thank you for that intro. Something where you said, you kind of just jogged my memory, because I've been around since the Blockstack days, and I got to say it's been just phenomenal to go through Blockstack, to finally go to Stacks, and then have the mainnet launch back in 21, and now we're coming up on the full mission of Stacks to become a Bitcoin layer 2, and the SBTC is upon us, subnets, Nakamoto release. Is how exciting is that to you, man?
Super exciting. Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been a marathon. I think the folks who have been working on Stacks, it's something that goes back years and years and years. This year's really been a year in which the whole concept of Web3 on Bitcoin has really sort of taken off in a sort of wider way outside of the Stacks community and other sort of crypto communities, with Ordinals in particular being championed as something you can use to do more on Bitcoin as L1. But yeah, as folks who have been working on this L2 technology, there's a lot of pieces that have been already put into place. Stacks is very powerful, and yet with Nakamoto and SBTC coming up next year, it's really going to complete the picture, because Stacks is still really a partial solution when it comes to serving as an L2 for Bitcoin. It's vital that you can take Bitcoin as an asset and move it on to Stacks. And of course, we need a lot faster block times than we currently have.
And move it on to L2 Stacks trustlessly, right? Decentralized.
Right. Yeah. Because everything we're doing is based on the fundamental principle of Bitcoin, which is it's the best foundation for decentralized technology. And if you start building trust points or centralized points of failure into whatever you're trying to build on top of Bitcoin, then that just undermines the whole point of building on Bitcoin in the first place. So the bridging, the wrapping of Bitcoin from Bitcoin's L1 to Stacks and L2 needs to be very trust minimized for it to correspond to that overall goal.
For those watching out there, can you guys do all of us a favor? Do Leather a favor and go review the on the Chrome store. Leather is one of the best wallets, and please leave a review if you have an opportunity today, this week, this month, so people can find Leather and make sure they find the right wallet on the Chrome store. So thanks for putting out that tweet, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
We want to get into BNS now, and I know we have a short time today. What for those who are completely new, and for some of those who've been around the ecosystem, what is a BNS name, and have you been surprised with just the fascination of people having these BTC names and the outreach of community?
Yeah, I was frankly pleasantly surprised when BNS took off in popularity with the launch of Stacks 2.0 a couple of years ago. And we've seen both moments where it's gone through just rushes of interest where people are coming in, new folks coming in to acquire names and join the community, and also sustained interest. We have people that have now been around for years discussing the ways in which we can make it better. So that's been great to see, because BNS is one of those pieces of technology that's sort of longest standing in the Stacks community. And we've seen it evolve quite a lot. And with Ordinals, which I mentioned before, there's now this really important question about how we have identity that moves between layers. So we want to reconcile what happens on L1 with L2 and vice versa, so that there's a very cohesive user experience around it.
And if someone's new, completely new, how do they get a BNS name?
Yeah, these days it's relatively simple. So you can go to btc.us, this app that you're showing now. You'll need to install and connect Leather as a wallet. BNS names, which end commonly in .btc, although they can end in other things, can be purchased on Stacks as L2 using STX. And so you need to purchase from an exchange, deposit into Leather, and then enter the name that you want to purchase. And then through this app, you can do so with the wallet. It's a very simple process. Once you have it, you can proceed to purchase more of them if you'd like. There are marketplaces like on Gamma where you can also trade them. So yeah, there's nothing too difficult about it.
Yeah, one of the things I recently saw from the BNS community is, and I didn't even realize this, that those fees to mint the BNS names are being burned. I never realized, like, I just always assume, oh, maybe it's just going to Treasury, and over time something will happen with that. So there is a community proposal, if you guys are interested, to take that burn fee. So when you type into that search box and you want to find a BNS name, that ends, like you said, it could end in different things like .app or .stx or something. But if you want that BTC name, there is a community vote to take the two stacks that you use to get a BTC name and be able to do some things with that in the treasury. So please go out there and vote on that. That could be two stacks. Doesn't seem like much, but you times that times a million .btc names and over a 5-year period, and you're talking about a significant number that could go back into some development areas, some marketing areas. So that's a significant amount that could be over time.
Yeah, there are a number of proposals on how to improve the protocol, the BNS protocol. And I think some of them are being considered or proposed for inclusion in some of the hard forks that might occur next year related to Nakamoto or SBTC, or might happen independently. But yeah, just how fees are handled is an important question of just how BNS will evolve and who can profit from it.
Mark, I've been pleasantly surprised and actually shocked with the amount of innovation back on Bitcoin again. I thought and maybe I just was kind of just wrong in this thinking. I was thinking, probably in my lifetime, or it'll take a long time before we get to that like magic internet money again, where Bitcoin is innovative. And here we are in 2023 with the explosion of ordinals and the explosion of volume. And we have BRC20, we have the ordinals, we have stamps, and now we're seeing different types of L2s being considered. How surprised are you with just the filling of innovation back on Bitcoin and ordinals?
Yeah, I think the start of this year was like a gift to a lot of the folks that were working in this ecosystem, in the sense that ordinals was not on any of our radars, came out of the blue, and really created this new momentum around building on Bitcoin, primarily on Bitcoin. There's this new design space that nobody really expected, that generated a ton of interest and innovation. And as a result, also sort of reinvigorated this whole question around L2s and on Bitcoin. And so I think it's had this sort of dual effect of increasing what's being considered and actively worked on for Bitcoin directly, and connected to Bitcoin via the other layers. So yeah, I think the reason why lots of us in the Stacks community jumped at the opportunity to support things like ordinals is because it fit just so perfectly inside of our thesis, unexpectedly but perfectly, and it really makes this whole mission easier, in the sense that I think easier and more logical, in the sense that I think you really want to have a healthy Web3 ecosystem developed directly on Bitcoin first, and then feed into an L2 layer 2 economy. I think before we were striving for just an L2 economy secured by Bitcoin, and sort of fed from a liquidity point of view from Bitcoin. But I think it's a lot more interesting and a lot more, it's a lot better opportunity in front of us if you have actually a thriving Web3 economy also on Bitcoin as an L1. So a very happy surprise in general.
So it sounds like you're not a Bitcoin maxi then, and you don't only want you want to stop the attacks against the chain.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much everyone in Stacks would sort of balk at that sort of description, of course, or sort of laugh at it, because we've now for years been trying to push the boundaries of what you can do with Bitcoin, respecting the core of what Bitcoin provides, and really believing, I think, agreeing with a lot of maxis, if you will, on some of the core principles, but optimistic that you actually do a lot more with it than people might otherwise assume, and without having to break anything as far as your principles or your integrity. I think there's a lot more that you can do with Bitcoin than is often talked about.
So there was a recent announcement, and Leather put out a tweet and partnered with the BNS community. BNS names are coming to ordinals. I think that it's just a no-brainer that that's going to happen. And I think people are really excited. I've seen a lot of good sentiment around this, and then just seeing this tweet thread about what it means. Uh, can you just give us some background on how the decision came to be that BNS would be able to come to Ordinals, and you'd be able to take your BNS name and have it as an Ordinal? And what does that mean for the long term, for BNS and people who have a BNS name? Like, what is the long term plan there?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to make clear that this sort of initiative is completely a community-based initiative. So there's no, BNS council or leadership that says this is the way we're going to change things, right? So this, for example, was an initiative driven by somebody at a company called Mechanism, who wanted to pursue this as first an experiment to see how it could work, and then work with other folks in the community to support its evolution. And so I would consider this still very early stage, but I think touching on an important question, like you're suggesting, where we've seen on L1 with Ordinals this year, a lot of identity protocols, meta protocols sort of sprout up, like .sats. And there are some benefits to that as far as ascribing that data directly onto Bitcoin, because it's really that core layer. However, there are also some limitations. BNS benefits from having smart contracts, for example, because it's on stacks in L2. So there's this question of how do we collectively sort of take advantage of the pros and cons, well, the pros of both of those layers while trying to minimize the cons, and how do we help people just move things back and forth so that they can take advantage of whatever layer they need based on their needs. So this is what you just showed on the screen is I think it's a V1 sort of attempt to say you can actually put your BNS names from Stacks into an escrow contract on Stacks in exchange for having inscribed it on Bitcoin. And then you can go back at some point where you can say, okay, I actually want to burn that inscription and reclaim the BNS name on the Stack side. So it's a decentralized system so that you can essentially transfer the representation of the name back and forth in a way that will prevent its existence on both sides at the same time. And so it's still early in the sense that if you go into it, you try it, it does work. You will get an inscription that represents your BNS name if you go to L1, and then you can reclaim your name if you go back to L2. However, I think it's a start because we have to, as an ecosystem, embrace protocols like this one and develop our products so that they recognize it. So in the wallet, for example, you want to be able to see and manage and leverage these names regardless of whether they're on L1 or 2. And for example, in Leather, we have very integrated L2 support for names, BNS, because that's where we really started with things. However, we have yet to develop L1 support for identities, whether they're .sats or whether they're BNS names that have been bridged over to L1. And so that's in front of us. It's something that we want to do as soon as possible. But it's something that we'll have to do, and other apps will also have to embrace it.
No, that's really cool. When I saw this, I thought this experiment to, and not only is the BNS community experimenting or Leather, there's a lot of experiments out there. And again, I thought I'd never see the level of experiment and just some innovations. Like, I'm going to try to build this thing just as a MVP and just see if it even works, right? I just thought I'd never see that, and now that I'm seeing it, I'm just so blown away about people's ability to build things again. When the other reason why I thought this was really cool as an experiment to see what the viability of it is, and obviously there's a lot of things that need to happen and go well that would bring true utility to being able to do things on the L1 with a BNS or even with your Ordinals. So there's still a lot to come, but for the future, I just could see where, and this is something at Zero Authority, like, we think about like the reputation of people who are known, people who are pseudonymous, people who are anonymous, right? Just having this ability to bridge from layers, and eventually it would all work nicely together and play together. Uh, if you look across the horizon, wh- how does that future look to you, Mark, where a lot of these things work together? Identity, reputation, being able to bridge assets across to Bitcoin L1, and maybe over time the L2s start to play a bigger factor, kind of like Ethereum, where the L2s take up a lot of the transaction space now.
Yeah, I think when it comes to identity, in particular, BNS and Ordinals-based names, as a wallet provider, I think we can do more inside the wallet to give you control and registration capabilities, so that there's just a clear path. You're in your wallet. You need to have a new identity, or you need to move an identity somewhere else. You need to renew it. That's just baked into the experience, and that we want to make that possible for both L1 and L2 assets. So you have basically parity as much as possible between. You can do the same things. So, for example, you can currently send. You can set up your BNS name so as such, so someone can send Bitcoin using your name, which is pretty cool. So you can say, I want people to send me Bitcoin to mark.id or mark.btc. We want to make that possible with L1 assets as well. So you got .sats, you can send it to mark.sats or whatever it is. So that sort of core functionality is something that I think we can still grow and make more robust. And to what you were also pointing to here, the importance of bridging these assets is such that also has to take place in the wallet, so that you don't have to go elsewhere. So this experiment, for example, is great. It's sort of its own dedicated app for bridging between L1 and L2 for BNS names. This over time is the sort of thing that we want to bring right into the wallet, so that you'll view your name in the wallet, see that it's currently on L1, for example, and there'd be an option to move it over to L2 and vice versa. And so that's part of the overall management question. And bridging, when it comes to BNS names or whether it comes to Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin onto stacks as an asset L2 or other assets, BRC20 tokens, whatever it is, the wallet should really give you that integrated path to bridge, so that you can do it all in one place, and you don't have to worry about layers outside of the wallet.
Yeah, well said, Mark. I know we're at time here. For the last thought, like where can people find you? Is it easy to find you on Twitter? Where can people interact with BNS? And again, just thanks for taking some time today to talk about Lather, being able to bring people into the Bitcoin economy and talk about BNS names.
Yeah, well, folks can always find me on Twitter. I'm Marky Mark, like you mentioned. You can always email me as well. It's mark@trustmachines.co. As far as the BNS community, I see a lot of folks hanging out in a Discord server. Let me just refresh my memory about the exact name. It is the BNS DAO, I think it's called. It's called BNS Community these days. So a lot of folks in there that talk about BNS all day long. And if you don't have a link to share with your audience, I can provide it. And it gives a couple of Twitter accounts as well that are dedicated to BNS. So there are a few resources out there. There's also a working group if folks are interested in actually developing on top of BNS and experimenting more, like the experiment we saw with the bridge. Larry Salibra runs that working group, and it's good to get in touch with him. Perhaps we can share his information as well, or he has a website about this working group that can be shared, and then folks can join a regular call where people talk about matters concerning BNS and what can be done to move forward.
That's awesome, and I'll share those links on the Twitters after this. And Mark, this was awesome. This is so great to get to know you a bit more, get the community to know you a bit more. I know you do a ton of work, so I'm so grateful for what you and the Leather team does, and all the innovations you guys are bringing. So thanks again so much for jumping on. At the end of your day to come talk about Ordinals, BNS, and everything Bitcoin and stacks. So appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thanks, Zero. I appreciate it as well. It's been great.
Have a good one, Mark. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Cheers.
Bye.
Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems. Thanks for supporting the community. Remember why you started.